everybody, and welcome to another edition of the 4 Weeks of KNITMAS. Jingle jingle. We are now into the third week. Each week I have been showing you a collection of knitted accessories. This is just to provide some inspiration for you at home for items that you might be thinking of knitting for Christmas gifts. And I think now we are in the first week of December, so there certainly is enough time left to knit at least one or two more gifts depending on your skill level and how much time you have. So this week I am going to be showing the 12 cowls and scarves snuggling. So 12 cowls and scarves snuggling. It is a mouthful. I have folded them all up here, and what I'll do is I will hold each one up, try it on so you can see how it sits on a person, and give you a little description about how it's knit and how much time it might take and yarn choices, all the good stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the super quick one. This is one of our fan favorites. It is like a ring of warmth. We call it the Faux Fur Cowl. It is knit in the round. Depending on your speed, you can knit this anywhere from 1 to 3 hours. It is really, really quick. It only takes one ball of faux fur, 100 grams, and the colors we have in stock are, well, we have more than these, but this is just an assortment that happened to fit in the basket. So we do have some solids, some tonals, and we also have some that are tinged with the frozen theme, which is the creamy tips. So one of those balls, it's a gift you can knit for under $15. It has been a very popular one for hairdressers, to give to hairdressers, anybody who is taking good care of you, if you have a dog walker, somebody who's been doing errands for you or picking up groceries, yeah, or anybody in the family or friends. So it sits not too far from the face. You can certainly bring it up over your mask for a little bit of extra protection when you're walking to and from the stores to your car. So it's 8mm circular needles, very, very simple. You just cast on, join in the round, place a marker so you know the beginning of your round, and then you just knit every single round till almost the end of the ball, leaving enough so that you can cast off loosely. And the joy about knitting with heavily textured yarns like this is that if you make a mistake, it's not going to show. If you were to knit a few stitches, or purl a few stitches instead of knit a few stitches, it will not show. If you drop a stitch, yes, likely it will show. So this is our Faux Fur Cowl. The pattern is free with the yarn, and if you are in a real crunch and you need a luxurious gift, then this is one that I highly recommend. Under $15. The pattern will include the adult size, which I have tried on, as well as the children's size. So the children's size is just less stitches and less height. Okay, so that is cowl number one. The next cowl is a beautiful riot of self-striping color, and it is a one skein project. It is knit in the round, and what size needle? See if I can remember. 5mm. So 5mm. Most cowls that go once around your neck, such as this one, will be knit on a 24-inch or 60cm circular needle. The 80cm is going to be too long. They are reserved for shawls. I have a few to show you, wraps and shawls, and they're also reserved for infinity cowls. Infinity cowls are a much wider loop that will wrap around your neck twice. But we tend to see more of the single wrap cowls in the last couple of years. It just seems to be the trend. So this has a very interesting pattern stitch in it, and in between there's just a few rounds of knitting, a few rounds of purling, and ribbing at the top and the bottom. I will bring it closer so you can have a look. And it is knit in hand-dyed merino, superwash merino, that is called unique worsted. And so you can see all the colors are dyed in a repeat that gives you a long section before the color changes. And that way you can get quite a few rounds of each color, and it just transitions very gradually. So there are two of the different colors. It's very bouncy and squishy to touch. And this one goes through shades of purples, royal blue, plum, lighter blue, light lilac, and a bright emerald green. And it has that nice drapey effect because of the merino quality. So the pattern stitch does involve slipping stitches and then knitting and purling them together a number of times. So there's a little bit of maneuvering of your needles, but you're not doing the fancy pattern stitch on every round. You get lots of plain knit or purl rounds in between to give yourself a little bit of a break. So something a little bit artistic, unique. You'll never see the same cowls, even if you're knitting two from the same colorway, because one may start with the purple and end with the green, the other might start with the blue and end with the lilac. Completely different. Very comfortable, lightweight, and definitely not itchy or scratchy. So that is cowl number 2. And then we are on to a very lightweight, earthy tone cowl. And this one is called Lichen the Lichen. It is one of my designs that I came up with, a couple months ago. So it is using 2 different yarns worked in stripe sequence with a fancy stitch. The main color is using 1 skein of the natural llama worsted, which is all undyed wool, merino and llama. And then the second color, I'll bring it up so you can see it a little bit closer, is using 1 of the skeins in the basket here. So that is a hand-dyed Gots merino, and it is just beautiful to knit with. It's very lightweight. The cowl itself is knit on a 4 millimeter, and because it does take 2 skeins, it will, and the small needle, it will take a bit more time. So you'd have to give yourself maybe a weekend to knit one of these. The pattern is available in store and on Ravelry, and it is a very fun textured stitch to try that I think resembles the lichen and the moss on the rocks that we have here in Muskoka. So I'll bring that up to the camera. So knit 2, purl 2 ribbing at the borders to stop the edges from curling, and then you'll see how the color changes and drifts from side to side with a mixture of denim, cream, sunshine, gold, tiny bit of orange. Very natural looking. So we do have that one in 4 different multicolors, and they are shown in the basket here. So you can pair up your favorite main color. You could have a cream or a darker beige. This one is called Flamingo, and it has pinks, dark denim, charcoal, and coral and cream. So that is a very feminine one. And then we have Hummingbird, which is aqua, lime green, pretty speckles of raspberry and yellow, and a deep coral and cream base. They are all dyed on a cream base. And then we have, this is the one that I've used in the cowl. It is called Sparrow. So lots of denim blue, marigold, sunshine yellow, coral, cream. Nice happy tones. And the last one is called Chickadee. So there's different shades of blues, corals, browns, and a nice pop of a spring green. It is really, really nice to work with because the wool fiber is all organic. And we do have, I'm sure, people on our gift list who will appreciate that. Now the other special thing about that cowl pattern is you'll have enough with one skein of the main color and one skein of the contrast color that you can knit 2 cowls, because it really doesn't take too much yardage from each of the skeins. So again, that is Lichen, the Lichen Cowl on Ravelry and in store. And then we are at the Yaya Cowl. This is another once around the neck cowl that will sit up nicely over top of your mask, keep your chin warm and your nose as well. And it is knit with one ball, 100-gram ball, and it is using a 9mm 24-inch circular. So we have all the 3 shades in stock of the Inca Ice. The one at the bottom is the color in the sample cowl. This is a nice earthy blend, olive greens, rose, coral, lighter greens, golds, mustards, browns, and then this one is greens, blues, lilacs, and pale pink. They all have that pop of dark charcoal flecked throughout. It's a very, very simple pattern. This could be level 1 beginner knitter, and I really like the way it fits because I don't have to pull it up into place. It really will stay over the chin and make you feel extra cozy when you are out and about doing your errands and your Christmas walks with the dog or with the kids. So Yaya Cowl, there is a matching hat to go with it with a big pom-pom. Each item takes 100-gram ball, and those balls are under $20 each. So it's a good budget project, and it gives a lot of color to go with most people's wardrobe. And as we know, most people have more than one coat. So this would go well with a black coat, a navy coat, a dark plum coat, and a gray coat, even something in the green, camel. Lots of different choices for that one. This is actually the same pattern done in a different yarn called spaghetti, and it is just showing it as a little bit of a bulkier weight. So we haven't changed the needles, we haven't changed the number of stitches. It's just because the yarn has a slightly thicker weight to it. It still sits up nice. I like that rigid edge created by the garter stitch at the top, and it doesn't feel heavy. It feels quite light on the shoulders. So that is a pretty colorway, and we do have some of the solid colors as well, which come in lavender, fuchsia, teal. Taupe is a new one that just came in. There's a purple. I'm wearing the gray lilac, and there's also a very pretty pink rose with a taupe. So this one is requiring 2 balls, and there is a matching hat as well. If you do the cowl and the hat set, it will take 3 balls. 2 balls for the cowl is still under $20, so it's very economical, and that's great because you can always knit more than one. So I would say this one would be a 2-night project for most knitters' speed. I mean, we really don't want to overdo it this month and strain our neck and shoulders, arms, wrists, just by pushing our limits. So Yaya Cowl is great for when you're getting down to the last week and you've just forgotten somebody on your list, or maybe you feel like a little gift for yourself. Now we are at number 5. We're still into the bulky yarns, which is great. Extra warmth and extra quick projects. So here we have the Folklore Cowl, the first one in our series, which actually has buttons. Now the buttons tend to go more at the side than right at the front. It is knit back and forth on straight needles. So for those of you who are not comfortable or familiar with circular needles in the round, this one can be worked just as you would work a blanket back and forth or a scarf back and forth. It is worked on very large needles, 12 millimeter, and it has another pretty little stitch in it, like some of our other cowls. Again, you don't have to do the fancy stitch on every row. You get a break of a knit and a purl row in between. It has a built-in garter stitch border, which makes it more rigid at the top, and it also has the built-in garter stitch button border with buttonholes. There are 3 buttonholes worked in as you knit the item. Generally, you can slip it on over the head without opening and closing the buttons, but having the actual buttons there is kind of nice because you can wear it 2 different ways. So I will show you that after I show you the stitch at the camera. Just a very simple little slip over stitch, but it's very effective in creating texture in a smoother yarn. So this one I don't need to undo the buttons. I like to have my buttons just on the side, and I do have quite a few cowls at home that I wear with the button-up look. I like it for the accent and the versatility. So if you undo the bottom button, I know I'm not very color coordinated today with the red and the lilac, but as you can see, opening the bottom button will allow you to wear it slightly over the shoulder, and then the cowl will sit a bit lower, and it just creates a different look. So button up or not, it's completely up to you. So that is a very quick 1 to 2 night project, and that is again the colors in this basket, plus we have many more that just didn't fit in my basket. We have a black, which is not shown in here, and we have lots and lots of the tweed colors. It's a wool blend, it's not scratchy, it's quite soft, and it's very plush and easy to work with. Doesn't split and doesn't snag. So now we are at a brand new cowl I've just finished in a new yarn. This is called Tri-Boo, and it is a blend of alpaca and mohair. So the yarn is really almost unspun. It has a loft to it and also almost a boucle texture. I will bring that up to the camera so you can see it a little closer and then show you the 2 different colors available. Very, very cozy and snuggly. Okay, so this one is knit with 2 balls. They look just like a cloud, and we have 2 different colors. The color that I have chosen for the sample is a sage green at the core, and the fluffy part is the creamy shade. The second color is a taupe at the core and a fluff on the outside. Oh, we've got our Friday afternoon delivery. Thank you. Yep. So that will be a 2-ball project. You could easily design your cowl to be a 1-ball project, and I'll show you why. It's a very tall fitting cowl. which also becomes a hood. So if you do not need the length of the 2 balls, why not just knit it with 1 ball? The choice is yours, of course. It is just so nice to kind of squish it down and feel those excess rolls of knitting. It just feels very, very plush, luxurious, and it is really, really light. So Tri-Boo Cowl is knit on 8mm, 24-inch circular. It does take 2 balls, so for that reason the 2 balls would be over $20 for the project. But it is something that I knit up in one evening. Probably took me about 2 to 3 hours. And if you were to knit it with 1 ball, it would still give you enough of height to cover your chin. So Tri-Boo Cowl, soft and squishy. And then next up we are at, number 7. I love number 7. I can't really say that this classifies strictly as a cowl. It's kind of what we call a crossover. It's somewhere between a kerchief, a cowl, bandana, and a mini shawlette. But because it's knit entirely in the round, we're going to call it a cowl. So this one will sit with the V in the front. I like to roll the top edge under a little bit to create more structure and weight there. And then the V sort of sits in the front, and you don't really have to play with it much, just let it fall where it falls. So this is called the Yaya Cowl, and it is knit on 4mm needles. Oh, I'm ahead of myself. Okay, Folklore Cowl was the one with the 3 buttons. We have the patterns in store, and it's also available on Ravelry. Folklore on the 12mm. And there is the Tri-Boo Cowl. This is the one that is tall enough to become a snood or a hood. And there's a free pattern available with any yarn purchase. So now we're at the Yaya Cowl. It's a dressy, cozy little item, not too bulky, and it is so much fun to knit because you go through a variety of stitches. You've got some eyelet stitches, you've got some little bobble picot edge stitches, you have some garter stitch, and then you have and then you have a little bit of a cluster stitch at the top. So I will bring that closer to the camera. So this one is knit from the top down with a center spine. That's what creates the V that you wear in the front. And you can see there's a pretty cluster stitch at the top, which creates a nice lacy effect. And then gently the cowl transitions over to an eyelet stitch, and then the final flourish is that bobble bind off, which I absolutely love. I use that a lot on my designs. And then there is a built-in garter stitch border which stops the edge from curling. So it is not a beginner project. It would be more intermediate level. You have to be comfortable with increasing, making one left, making one right, and you should be comfortable with working in the round and placing markers on your needle. Certainly worth the effort to try to knit it for somebody special or for yourself. So this consists of one skein, 100-gram skein of, where is our yarn? Over here again. So it is something you can knit for under $20, one skein, and I've showed you the 4 pretty colors. You can also use any fingering weight yarn. You have lots of fingering weight yarns which are hand dyed, and very luxurious. Some have a cashmere merino blend, and some are a merino alpaca blend, and some are merino and nylon. So the Yaya Cowl is available in store and on Ravelry. And now we are at another new cowl. This one may coordinate a bit more with my outfit. So this is On the Rocks Cowl. It has a nice stretchy construction and a casing at the very top for an I-cord to be threaded through, and then you can draw it a little bit closer to your neck if you're feeling the chill. It is part of the On the Rocks collection, which features boot socks, wrist warmers, and now we have the cowl and the toque. So they are packaged together in the pattern. So the toque and the cowl are on one pattern, and the boot socks and the wrist warmers are on the other pattern. It is a very soft wool blend chunky yarn, and it is machine washable, so it is good for somebody on your list who maybe doesn't have the time to hand wash everything. It's great for teenagers and younger kids. Yeah, that's another thing to bring up. So there is a child and an adult size for both the toque and the cowl. Knit on 5mm circular needles, 16-inch for child size or 24-inch for adult size. And also a 6mm in the same length circular, and a set of double pointed needles. I-cord is always done on 2 double pointed needles to create that fascinating little tube of knitting. So this one, yes, you can pull the cord up, tie it under your chin, and no cold draft will ever get in there. Very, very cute and cozy, and it would look even nicer with the matching hat. This one will take, if you're doing the cowl alone, it takes a ball of the main color, which is our salt and pepper, and a ball of the red and a ball of the cream. But to make it more economical, you'll end up with so much red and cream that it makes it nicer to do the full set with the matching toque. That way you just need 2 balls of the main color for the set, and 1 ball of the cream and 1 ball of the red for the set. Okay, now we are on to the heavy artillery. Some of you might recognize this one from our late summer knit along, which was also featured every Friday right here live on Facebook, and this is called the Snuggle Is Real. The pattern is available on Ravelry, and it is knit completely seamless with an inside layer of warmth. So the construction starts at the bottom with a provisional cast on with some scrap yarn, and then you're working the ribbing in the main color, and then you're doing this really interesting but super simple slip stitch pattern, and that creates the interplay of the 2 colors as you go up, and then you're finishing at the top with knit 2 purl 2 ribbing, which will fold over and join onto itself so it becomes a casing, and then you are finishing with the inside line, which is straight knitting every round. So this is knit on a 4mm circular again, and it takes 3 skeins because you have 3 different colors to work with. So that is Sirocco by Richard DeVries, hand-dyed superwash merino, and basically you're picking a main color, which is a strong color, and then you're picking a pop color, which would be the inside lining, and a contrasting color to work through the slip stitch on the front of the cowl. Now, even though it does look like you are carrying the yarn across to create this pattern, every single round is knit with just the one color on its own. Slip stitch or mosaic knitting can create the effect of Fair Isle without all the messy stranding across. So I'll bring that up to the camera. You can see details of the texture. And the casing at the top, and then the pop color on the inside. So this is something that you'll appreciate most in the middle of January, February, when you're outside shoveling, walking, trying to start your car, trying to dig your car out of the driveway. And it is the warmest cowl that we have ever knit. And it has a nice long length again. Most of us during the knit along shortened our cowls somewhat. I think the original cowl was knit about 2 to 4 inches taller than what we have here, and that would almost be a little bit too much bulk and weight on the shoulders, so it's quite easy to shorten on the outside and then shorten to match on the inside. So this again is called the Snuggle Is Real. The pattern is on Ravelry. It takes 3 skeins of superwash merino, 100 grams, by Richard DeVries. This one has more of the pinks and the purples. And we have some in blues, we have some earthy tones, some autumn tones, olive greens, more in the grays as well. So whatever your palette, I'm sure that we have some colors that would work with it. So that is the last of our actual cowls today. We are up to number 10, so we're going to start transitioning over to the scarf section. You have to remember, up until about maybe 5 to 8 years ago, all we really knit to cover the neck were scarves. Cowls, knitted cowls, have only been around for 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 years. I've lost track. It took us a while to transition over to them, and now that we have, we absolutely love them. But in between the scarves and the cowls, there was something that we called neck warmers. And neck warmers were usually something that crisscrossed. It was very short. It was not the full length of a scarf. Sometimes it had little buttons or a pass-through. So this is what we're calling the faux fur slip-through scarf. And it is knit again in that gorgeous, luxurious faux fur yarn. It's a one-ball project, which means one evening. Big needles, very simple to knit. You don't need circular needles. This is all done on straight 8mm needles. And there is a free pattern with the yarn. So the way that it is constructed, it's knit in stocking stitch, but at certain intervals along the strip, the rectangular strip, a little slot is formed, and that creates a spot to bring the tail through. So once you put it on, you don't have to fiddle with it, and you don't have to tie it or put a brooch on it or a shawl pin. It's just that little pass through here. You take the tail, and then you can cozy it up as much as you like, or relax it to where you feel it's comfortable, because believe it or not, this faux fur yarn, even though it is not made of wool product, it's a man-made fiber, it gets very, very warm. At some points during the day when you're wearing either the cowl that I showed you, number 1 cowl, or this scarf, you will have to loosen it so that you have some circulation and some cool air coming at you. It's a very dense fiber because of the fur, and it really traps the air and keeps the cold out. So yes, this is a free pattern, and it is knit for adult sizes. It would be easy to alter to children's sizes. We just don't cast on as many stitches. And it makes a pretty little bow tie effect. So that is the first of our scarf or neck warmer, and some of the colors are shown in the basket. And it is a project that you can knit for under $15, so it's a great gift for some of the people that are in the service industry, neighbors, distant relatives. And then the next one we have is another fan favorite. It's one of the most popular little shawls that you'll see on Ravelry, and it is a free pattern. It's called Close to You. And if you take time to look it up on Ravelry and save it in your favorites, and maybe read the story of how the pattern came into being. The designer is European, and she writes a really cute story about her husband going off to find her some yarn, and how it evolved into this particular pattern. So this is knit from tip to tip. It's not a full-size shawl, so we call it a scarf or a scarfette. And it looks really, really nice in any of the fingering weight yarns. It only takes 100 grams. So one ball of a sock weight yarn will make this particular gift. It's knit on a 4mm needle. You can use your circular or you can use your straight. It is consisting of increasing and garter stitch and yarn overs. So although the border may look like it's picked up after, it's not. It's knit in at the same time. It's really not a difficult pattern. Once you get through a couple of repeats, you'll realize you're just doing the same thing over and over again. So you could choose to wear it as a little scarf without a pin, and just let the tails kind of hang where they want to in the front, or you could choose to pin it in a way so that maybe you had the cross section on the shoulder. You could put a fancy pin there or a little shawl pin. So this is very economical. It will be under $20 to knit close to you. I just put some of the colors on the table to show an example of what you can use. If you like the gradient, like I'm wearing, this is the comfort wool, and it is 100 grams. You would need something that would give you about 400 to 420 meters. This one has a very long color repeat. As you can see, when it's knit up, it doesn't make thin stripes, it makes nice wide gradient stripes. Evolution is also a new one that makes the wide gradient stripes, and we have it in Flurry, which is a mix of pretty purple, aqua, and pink. Pink is hidden in the middle. Again, under $20 for one project. And then this is Evolution again, which is a blend of superwash merino and a bit of nylon. And this one has more of the golds, marigolds, corals, reds, and medium green. And then we also have another self-striping with turquoises, pinks, yellows, oranges, and medium green. So there's so many choices. You'll never ever pick a color that you don't like. It always comes out pretty. So close to you. And now we are at number 12. This is one of our new ones that has been popular and will be showing up under many Christmas trees. It is called the Olympia Wrap. It is a super chunky, cozy wrap, and it does take two 100-gram balls, so that will bring it just under $40 for the project. But the best part about this is the colors that come out as you're knitting. It just speaks of joy, and also it's knit on a 12mm needle, so what's more joyful than that? Big needles. So it can be worn again as a scarf, just wrapped around the front and tails coming to the front, either tied or loose. Tie them if you want more layers. Leave them loose if you want a bit more breathing room. And you can also wear it across your shoulders as a full-size shawl, and also pin it with a brooch. So this is one step up from beginners. It does include a lot of garter stitch, which is knitting each row, and it makes it easy to see the stitches. If you make a mistake or drop a stitch, the stitches are so large that you can easily see them. But there are 2 rows that create the open work stitch, so if you've had a little bit of practice at doing yarn overs, you'll feel comfortable with this one. The pattern is free with the yarn, and we do have 2 different colors. The first color used in our display wrap is our licorice colorway. So it has the black in between sections and the charcoal, and then really bright vivid colors. So there's a bright orange, a bright green, a bright purple, hot pink, and some yellow, and some deeper raspberry tones. The second color, although it looks very similar, is actually quite different. We call this one our macaroon color because each of the colorful bands between the black and the charcoal is subdued. So the purple will be 1 shade lighter than this one, and the orange, the pink, the green, and the yellow will also be a little bit lighter or darker in tone. So it's 2 balls to make one of the wraps, and I'll just hold up this one so you can see all the fanciful colors again. Completely reversible. When you're knitting something primarily in garter stitch, it doesn't matter which side is the right side. They both look great, and of course it doesn't curl at the edges. So that is our last of the 12 cowls and scarves a snuggling, and I thought I would leave you with a little bit of trivia. So we've been talking about everything that's being knitted here today, and I had no idea that the very first knitting needles were made of copper. I thought the very first knitting needles ever discovered would have been made out of bone or ivory. I don't know how many of you agree with that, but apparently I was wrong. They have found that the oldest knitting needles ever discovered, which were found in Egypt, were made of copper, and they looked more like hooked needles than our straight pointed knitting needles that we're used to now. Since that discovery, they've also found ancient needles that are made of wood, bone, ivory, bamboo, amber, glass, and iron. So I had no idea about the iron or the amber. The others were all materials that I knew of. And around the world, knitting needles are not always known as knitting needles. In some regions, they're known as skewers, picks, woods. You could say I'm going to the store to pick up a pair of woods. And yeah, so depending where you live in the world, you may refer to your knitting needles as something other than what we refer to them as. So I hope you enjoyed that little assortment of knitted accessories today, and I will be back for the last edition, which will be next Friday at 3 o'clock for the final reveal of the 12 accessories. As we get closer to Christmas, there will be items that you can knit a little faster each week. So enjoy your weekend, and of course get lots of knitting done. Thanks for watching.